I am somewhere between we can't afford that and we need to save money, and I will cash out my 401k for a dirty martini.
So I was just out on a walk right now, and check out these homes next to this path that I'm on. I was looking these homes up on Zillow, and you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 615, 625, 650 in some cases for these really tiny houses. I mean, they're not very big. You can see the properties they're sitting on are tiny, and yet people want $650,000 for these homes at what, 6.25% interest rates? Like, no wonder nobody can afford anything.
Does anybody else notice all these apartment complexes they're putting up are charging an obscene amount of rent, and you're just kind of like, who are they renting to?
We are leaving the US. We are leaving the US for good. We are moving back to India.
People are clearly delusional in America if they don't think that there's a problem with the fact that to be able to rent an apartment, you have to make at least 3 times the income. Jobs don't pay 3 times the amount of rent, so why is that a requirement?
Housing in America has reached a breaking point. Rent keeps climbing, home prices feel impossible, and wages just aren't keeping up. People who work full-time are still struggling to afford a place to live, and every rent increase feels like a threat. This isn't about poor decisions. It's about a housing system that's pricing everyday Americans out of stability.
Rent is too damn high. The cost of living is too damn high, and I don't understand how the government thinks that that is sustainable for the American citizens. I am looking online at different places, houses, apartments, townhomes, everything to see what's out there. One, they want you to make 3 times the rent. Jobs are not paying 3 times the rent. I'm looking at different jobs that require at least a bachelor's degree, which I have, but they're at $52,000, $50,000 a year. What? And you expect me to pay $2,000 and above for rent, and you want me to make 3 times that? Like, make it make sense. How is people surviving out here? I really want to know, how are people surviving? And then they want to get on you about living, allowing people to come stay with you, and they paying a portion of the rent. So people can't stay there if they're not on the lease, and you can get in trouble for that and evicted for that. And on top of that, they want the deposit, which is the equivalent of the rent, the first month rent, and then last month rent. And then they want your credit score to be extra high. Mine is 796. So, I mean, I will qualify. But again, for the average American, that's not doable. That is not doable. They want you to spend every aching ounce, every minute of the day at somebody's job, collecting hours and hours and money and money and money and money. When do you get to sleep? When do you actually get to be at home? You don't even get to be at home. How is any of this sustainable? It's not. The housing crisis is already bad enough. There isn't any more low-income housing. I know because I work in housing, so I know. People are really hurting, really struggling to live and survive. And it's going to be a lot more homeless people that do have jobs, but they can't afford to get apartments. And that's a lot of homeless people that I see. They actually work, but they can't afford to get. I moved out into my own apartment when I was 19 years old, okay? I had it was 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It was $625. 1 bedroom now is over $1,200. A 2-bedroom back then was $800 at the most. $725 on the low end. That's when I moved out. Now it has tripled. That is not sustainable. And a lot more people are going to go homeless. Period. Now they being a little picky about how many people you can have living in a home or an apartment. But how do you expect people to survive? They're not paying us enough to pay these prices. This is not sustainable, and eventually it's gonna bust.
Yo, so this is some next level shit. The landlord put a lock on the outdoor faucet. You can't make this one up, folks. You turn the faucet and it sprays up like that. Our old landlord let us use the hose to wash down the cars, but the new one said no hoses, so we started using buckets. And then we came out today to wash the car, and there's a lock and key on the thing. Can't make that one up. The big man always wins.
What is up with these new developers trying to get us to spend over $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment in Philly? I'm sorry to break it to you, Philly is not that type of city. We're not. No one who lives in Philly and is from Philly can actually justify spending that much money for a one-bedroom apartment. Like, $1,700, maybe you're okay. $1,800, you're pushing it. But could be possible. And I see the type of people that these apartment complexes are trying to market themselves to, and even they can't justify spending that much money living in Philadelphia. And the gag is, all of these apartments are vacant. They can't fill them. And they offer these incentives like, oh, first 2 months free, first month is free. It still doesn't help that I would have to spend $2,000 for an apartment. And no, you don't get what you paid for. You don't. Bring down the prices, and I promise you all those vacant spots will be filled.
Yeah, this is such a real point. Philly just isn't a $2,000 one-bedroom city, no matter how hard developers try to pretend it is. You can slap stainless steel appliances and a fake luxury label on it, but that doesn't suddenly change the reality of where this city is and who actually lives here. And the vacancy part says everything. If these apartments were priced reasonably, they wouldn't be sitting empty. Offering 2 months free doesn't fix the problem. It just hides the real cost for a little while. Eventually, you're still on the hook for a rent that doesn't make sense for the area, the wages, or the lifestyle. What's wild is that even the people they're marketing to don't want to pay that much. When your target audience is saying nah, that should tell you something. Instead of adjusting prices, they'd rather let units sit empty and wait it out.
We just moved back for a few months to America from Australia. And I just want to know how people are surviving here. Everything is so expensive. I paid $3 for a single red onion today. A red onion. A single red onion. Was it big? Yeah, it was big. But a single red onion is $3 here? Why? How? I don't get it. And I've come to the realization that $100,000 here is nothing in comparison to the $100,000 if someone was to make it Australia. Like, $100,000 in Australia goes so much farther. And then you bring in the rental costs. How do y'all do it?
If you want cheap rent without getting a roommate, there's only 2 options available. So for your first option, if you want a cheap apartment, is you have to move to far, far away land. You have to move to a small ass town where everybody goes to Walmart for fun. There's nothing to do and you'll be bored as hell, but your rent will be $35 a month. Your second option, if you want cheap rent, is your roommate is probably going to be rats and roaches. Your car's going to get broken into. You're probably going to get shot. But at least your city's a lot of fun and there's a lot of things to do in your city. And this is why I think renting is such a very unfair concept. I have a friend who's paying $2,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Miami, Florida. Then I have another friend who's paying $800 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in a small town in South Carolina. Both apartments are pretty much the same size. The only difference is location. I think it should be illegal for rent to be over $2,000 a month. You could be paying $2,000 a month for your apartment and your next door neighbor, same model, same everything, could be paying $1,800 for the same model apartment as you. Or they could be paying more than you. When you renew your lease, it could go up by $9 or $900. And then you're paying $2,000 a month, but you will never own your apartment. You will never own it. I feel like rent should be like a fixed amount across the board. A 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States should be like $800. A 2-bedroom apartment should be like $900. Life is unfair, but renting is 10 times unfairer.
And many of you know I always talk shit and brag about how cheap my rent is. On one of my videos in the comments, I couldn't reply to it for some reason. But someone was like, how are poor people supposed to live? And then somebody responded to their comment and they were like, get an RV like she said. And the person said, that's very expensive. And yes, you're right, but I just want you to think of it like this. So I got my RV on Facebook Marketplace for under $10,000. Now, if I were to be renting an apartment for a full year, so for 12 months, we're going to do some quick math here. So if I was renting an apartment for 12 months and let's say the rent is $1,000, okay? So what's 1,000 times 12? Yep, that's $12,000. Personally, I could never afford $1,000 a month rent. I just physically and mentally could not come up with that money. At least not yet. Maybe one day. My business is starting to really take off. But my point is, the way my brain works is, I think January to December, that is $12,000 that I will have to give somebody for a place to live for a full year. Now, I bought this RV for under $10,000. So this RV was less than $10,000. But I own this RV. I'm the owner of this RV. I don't rent out this RV. I rent out a spot to park the RV so I can plug the RV into plumbing, electricity, water, etc. So that's why I pay $400 a month plus my electricity bill, which usually is expensive because I always have the TV on and I always have, I don't know, I just use so much of my electricity somehow. So my bill usually comes to about $500-ish. But my point is, no matter where you live, if you buy land, if you buy a house, if you rent an apartment, if you have an RV, you're gonna have to pay something to live, honey. That's just the world we live in. But personally, for me, it's just a lot more doable for me to pay $500 a month. But like I said, the people paying $1,000 for an apartment for a full year, they're paying what, $12,000, right? I'm paying half of that. I'm only paying $6,000 a year so that I can have water, electricity, and plumbing. I also own this vehicle, so I can't get evicted, and if I want to get up and move and drive to an RV park in California, I can do that. Personally, I just think this is the best idea for me, maybe not for you, but I think a lot of young people should consider this, because if you're paying $12,000 a year to live in an apartment that you don't even own, then honey, how are you ever going to save for a house? How are you ever going to save for your future? In my experience, it's just a lot easier to save money when you're paying less rent. When I was homeless living in a motel, it was like $1,200 a month to stay in a Motel 6. So that was the closest thing I ever did to paying rent. I will say that was the hardest time of my life. I physically could not come up with $1,200 every single month. But $500, I can do that. That's very doable for me.
I actually get where she's coming from, and I think a lot of people do. She's not saying an RV is some perfect solution for everyone. She's just explaining how she made the math work for her. And that's the key thing people miss. When rent feels impossible, you start thinking in survival math, not lifestyle math. The way she breaks it down is real. $12,000 a year just to rent something you don't own versus buying an RV outright and paying a few hundred a month to exist. For someone struggling, that difference is everything. That's the difference between constantly panicking and actually being able to breathe a little. What really stands out is that she's honest about it. She's not pretending it's glamorous. She's not saying it's easy. She's saying, I couldn't afford $1,000 a month, but I can't afford $500. That's not laziness. That's adapting to a housing market that's completely out of touch with reality.
Well, we're looking at leaving. We're going to look at Canada and Portugal. Those are the two places we're looking. I can't even believe that I have to say this, but I am not going to sit and wait and hope that what we're seeing unfold doesn't actually happen. I'm not. I'm almost 60. What does that give me? Another 25, 30 years? I'm just keeping it real here. I don't want to live it like this. It's just not. No, I don't want to. And so do I want to leave my country? No. But my country kind of disappeared around 2015. And now it's unrecognizable to me. And so we're going to do a little research. We've got our Go stuff packed, all our documentation. We are going to check out Canada first, probably come back here, go check out Portugal, come back here, maybe Turkey. I'm not sure. It depends. Yeah, I mean, can you, it's like mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. I just had a conversation with my cousin who, I love her. I'm probably closer to her than anyone in my entire family except my sister, who's closest to me in age. And she's a Republican. And she has no idea about what's going on. She's not MAGA, but she's part of the GOP, and like, she doesn't know. I mentioned a few things to her, and she's like, I mean, it's just, and she is a brilliant woman, but she doesn't know. And it was funny because I started to feel, I was talking to her and I started to feel like I probably sound crazy to her. Like, I bet I sound like I'm making a bigger deal out of things than what they are. So I had to really explain in detail just a small, like, smudgeon of some of the things that are going on, specifically that would impact her personally. Yeah, I don't understand how people are unaware of what's happening, other than where they're getting their news from, if they're even getting news. I know there's a lot of people in the country right now that have just turned off their TV. They just turn off their TV. They don't want to know. That is very dangerous. That's incredibly dangerous, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, we're going to start looking. Crazy times. Crazy frickin' times we're living in.
We are leaving the US. We are leaving the US for good. We are moving back to India. I've got so many comments, so many DMs, and the number one question is, why are we leaving the US? Multiple reasons, number of reasons of why we are leaving. The first reason is the healthcare system here. The healthcare system is terrible. I have been a victim of this healthcare system once when I suffered a loss. When my kids are sick, also I don't have any great experience whenever they are sick. But with my recent husband's diagnosis that he's got, staying in this country would be very difficult for us. It would not do any good to his health condition, and the healthcare system here is the focus is on insurance, the focus is on the deductibles, the out of pocket. Whereas in India, the healthcare system is much better, where the focus is first the patient. The focus is like treatment. Let's first get him better. Let's make him better, and then we will see regarding the insurance and the bills and all of those things. So the accessibility to doctors, the accessibility to specialists without appointments or with appointments, it's much easier. We don't have to worry about which treatment to select versus which we cannot do because the insurance is not covering it. We don't have to worry about meeting the out-of-pocket, meeting the deductibles. We don't have to worry about the tests that they do. We don't have to worry about how much, which tests the insurance will cover. and all of these things. And even just as simple as a fever or a cough, I can take my kids to the doctor freely without having to worry about, again, insurance and appointments and all of those things.
I mean, when people say they're leaving the U.S. because of health care, that alone tells you how broken things are. Think about that for a second. This isn't about taxes or weather or culture. It's about being scared to get sick. That's insane. The fact that she has to explain deductibles, out-of-pocket maximums, insurance approvals, and which test is allowed instead of just saying my husband needs care already says everything. In America, the first question isn't what's wrong. It's what plan are you on? And the contrast she makes is brutal. In India, it's let's treat the patient first. In the US, it's hold on, let's see if your insurance agrees that you deserve to be treated. That's not a healthcare system. That's a billing system with a stethoscope.
Jobs don't pay 3 times the amount of rent, so why is that a requirement? I just took my younger sister to go look at apartments. We found one that she loves. The price point is literally almost as much as my mortgage, but apparently that's like the average. Now, you fill out the paperwork, come to find out you have to make 3 times the amount of rent after tax to be able to be qualified to rent the apartment. I want you to make almost $6,000. You can genuinely afford the apartment. Why can you not provide like bank statements for the last like 3 to 6 months showing like your spending habits and your budgeting and tracking where they can see realistically, can you truly afford it? I don't understand. Like, how are most people affording an apartment? Average American, especially college students who genuinely need an apartment close to a campus, they're not making $72,000 a year. Make it make sense.
So I'm currently on the apartment hunt for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and my budget used to be like under $1,500 because I was trying to save some money and pay off my student loans while like paying for rent, and it got me nowhere because now I have to move out of this apartment because it's not well maintained and I need a new apartment. What's frustrating is to then move into a newer apartment that you guarantee are not going to have problems at is like $1,800, $2,000, which is like insane to pay for an apartment while in grad school to guarantee that I'm living in safe conditions. Like, I just don't understand like how this is possible. How are people doing this?
When you really sit with everything we've talked about in this video, it all points to the same uncomfortable truth. Life in the U.S. has become exhausting in ways people weren't prepared for. It's not just one thing. It's groceries, it's rent, it's healthcare, it's insurance. It's the constant feeling that no matter how responsible you are, no matter how hard you try, you're always one bill away from panic. People aren't leaving because they hate America. They're leaving because they're tired of being afraid to get sick. They're tired of choosing between treatment and death. They're tired of a system where the first question isn't, how can we help? But what does your insurance say? That wears you down over time, especially when you have kids, especially when someone you love is sick. And what makes this hit harder is that these aren't reckless people. These are families doing the math. They're comparing what it costs to live, eat, rent, and get medical care here versus somewhere else, and realizing the stress just isn't worth it anymore. When moving across the world feels safer than staying put, that's not failure. That's survival. We've been told for a long time that this is just how life works, that high costs are normal, that struggling is part of adulthood, that if you're stressed, it's because you didn't plan well enough. But when millions of people from different backgrounds, incomes, and ages are saying the same thing, it's not a personal issue anymore. It's systemic. And the saddest part is how normalized it's become. We joke about prices. We laugh about medical bills. We shrug at rent increases. But underneath that humor is fear. Fear of getting sick. Fear of losing housing. Fear of never getting ahead. Fear that this is as good as it's ever going to get. This conversation isn't about trashing one country or praising another. It's about honesty. It's about listening to people when they say, this doesn't feel sustainable anymore. Because ignoring that doesn't make it go away. It just pushes more people to their breaking point. If you're watching this and thinking, yeah, I felt that too, you're not weak. You're not dramatic. You're responding to real pressure, and you're not alone in it, even when it feels like everyone else is somehow managing better than you. Talking about this matters. Sharing these stories matters. Not because it fixes everything overnight, but because silence never helped anyone. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people you love. And don't let anyone convince you that struggling in a system like this is a personal failure. I'll see you in the next one.